How important is a lease agreement?
Yeah, I mean, the lease agreement is ultimately the contract that the two parties enter into, and it's a really important part of a relationship. I think a lot of people don't take the time required at the beginning of a relationship to set up the ground rules, and that's what the lease does. You know, legally speaking, you don't have to have a written lease, but we certainly don't recommend that. Have a written lease and make sure that all the terms and conditions that you need are in that lease.
The kind of things, however, just mention a few that need to go into the lease agreement, because it's something that I always insist on having so that you don't have any niggly situations further down the line.
Look, you can put all sorts of things into a rental lease. You know, you can talk about fittings, you can talk about who should put in an aircon and who splits the cost and all sorts of things like that.
Annual increases as well?
Yes, well, those are the big four, right?
Yeah.
The big four are, what are you going to pay every month? What's your rental? Make sure that that's in there. How is that going to escalate at the end of the rental period? So if they want to renew, is it a 10% increase? What does the escalation look like? Very important that the deposit is reflected in there. And the critical one that a lot of people just gloss over is the inspection sheet. When you move in, make sure you walk through with your tenant, take photos, write down all the different scuffs and dents and dings in the apartment to make sure that at the end of the period you've got something to compare it to and you can decide whether any damage has occurred.
Very important. You mentioned deposits as well. Now, how does the deposit come into play? How should it be handled? What is it used for? Or when the landlord gets the money, is it like, oh, who lives like this?
Exactly.
Or do they put it away?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, because you've got a lot of private landlords in South Africa, there isn't a lot of understanding on what you're meant to do with a deposit. It's meant to sit in trust, effectively, so go into a bank account and earn interest until you pay it back to the tenant at the end of the lease. You certainly don't want to go and buy your next big screen TV with it and then not have the money when the tenant moves out. So, yeah, interest-bearing account, hang on to it, and of course, it's your insurance if the tenant defaults on their rental or damages the apartment or house.
Wonderful. That's why we have you here, just to make sure you smooth out all of these situations for us. Simon Bray, thank you so much for joining us yet again.